Hello, Internet listeners, or should I say, put the bunny back in the box. This is the Caged Men podcast. My name is Cody Bridges, and I am in a prison of my own making. I am on a quest to watch every single movie that Nicolas Cage has ever acted in. I am not here alone, though. I am joined today by a new cellmate. So, Katie, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Katie Edward. I am an author, and an avid reader, and I guess sort of a Nicolas Cage fan.
That's a good start. It's a good place to be. That actually does allow me to sort of roll into the beginning of this. We are going to be talking about a movie that I know you do like, because you have said so effusively. We are talking about the 1997 Simon West directed movie Con Air, starring Nick Cage, John Cusack, and John Malkovich. We will get into the movie. This is a crazy movie for crazy people, so there's a lot to talk about. This is actually
I am a crazy person.
Hey, we're all here, aren't we? That's
right.
Sort of a sign. This is our first upswing movie for folks that are new to the podcast. We are starting at the middlemost Nick Cage movie, and we are working our way in opposite directions every other week. So this is our first movie where we are actually improving from the middlest Cage movie, the median Cage movie. So that's a good sign, and I think this is markedly better than medium. I think this is our first step in the right direction. But the next episode, of course, will be a downswing, so we'll see how I feel then. But this is your first time on the show. This is a scientific show. We are doing a survey. I'm going to be, this is a longitudinal study. Watching all these movies is going to take 4 years. So I'm going to take some survey questions to test your mental state. So I do have 3 survey responses I'd like you to answer. There are 3 statements, and I'd like you to give me a number between 1 and 7, where 1 is I completely disagree with this statement, 7 is I completely agree, 4 is right in the middle, and you can figure out the rest. So,
okay. All right.
Statement 1. Nicolas Cage is an actor I like.
You're going to stop with Nicolas Cage is an actor. Sorry, 1 is disagree, like most disagree, and 7 is agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is an actor that I like. I'll say 6.
6? Okay.
6, yeah.
Cool. Second statement. Nicolas Cage makes mostly good movies.
I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna put that in the middle.
Right in the middle. Fair. Okay. And then the final one, in light of the movie we watched for this episode, I would like to watch more Nicolas Cage movies.
Oh, 7. Absolutely.
7. So this is like a Nick Cage gateway drug.
Yeah, like if this was the only Nick Cage movie I had ever seen, I'd be like, I want to see more.
Terrific. Okay. So that is all for now. We can move on to talking about the movie instead of science. I will save that data for later.
Okay.
But so this is Con Air, of course. Con Air is an action movie. The back of the DVD box, which I have from the local library, tells us that it is about a parolee on his way to freedom from impossible odds. And impossible, I think, is a great way to describe this movie, because it is one of those movies where some movies require you to suspend your disbelief constantly because there's stuff happening all the time where you're like, that's stupid. Mm-hmm. This is a movie that asks you to suspend your disbelief just right at the beginning. And then pretty much everything else is like, well, that could have happened if this was a thing that happened.
Yeah, I think the inciting incident of this movie is pretty much one of those like, well, if it didn't happen this way, there would be no movie. Um,
Ruth.
kind of setups.
So for folks unfamiliar with the movie, Con Air is about Nick Cage plays a man called Cameron Poe.
Mhm.
He is an Army Ranger, and he gets out of training or tour of duty. It's not clear. And
I think he was in Desert Storm. I think he
okay,
was
so
part
he's
of Desert
back
Storm.
from. That's right, because he has like medals or ribbons on
Yeah,
his uniform.
there,
So he
there's
gets
a there's like sort of a montage of war scenes, and then like a award like what's the word, commendation sort of ceremony, and then he's back in Alabama.
Gotcha. I was interpreting that as either a commendation or possibly a graduation, but I guess there were scenes of like helicopters and stuff too. So that makes more sense. Um, so he gets home from this to see his wife, and then in one night gets in a drunken bar fight where he murders somebody in the bar fight, defending his wife, and then winds up in prison despite it being self-defense. And then
I
winds up getting out of prison eventually, and they're trying to send him home on a Con Air, on a military prisoner flight, which is for some reason full of him, a guy who's about to get out of jail, and 11 of the most terrifying criminals that have ever lived. And that is the idea.
Yes. I did get very so I think that the beginning okay, let me back up.
Sure.
For a moment.
No,
So many thoughts.
we could, yeah, I glossed over notes I have about the beginning. So we
Mhm.
can start from there. That is fine.
Yes. I will preface this by saying, for those listening that don't know, I am your sister-in-law, so we spend a lot of time together.
Yes,
um,
we are related
by
in that way,
marriage.
as well as both being podcasters. Yes.
Yes. Um, and I believe I once said to you that this movie slaps from front to back, which
That's that's an opinion.
I still have that opinion. However, I will say two things. Number one, the movie, I love it and I love watching it. It's not without its criticisms. And number two, the beginning of this movie is the most boring part. Like the first, 5-10 minutes where you're doing the setup, that's the most boring part.
Oh yeah.
um
The main things I pointed out about the beginning is we immediately transfer from very, like, I hesitate to say because it's someone's hard work, very generic action movie march score with all him getting his commendation to the bar scene, and we hit needle drop on the love theme by Leanne
one of
Rimes, How Do I Live Without You?
one of the
Ins-
greatest love themes from a movie ever.
but hold
Um
nothing back. We're starting with it. It's gonna play over the credits. I looked up very little trivia about this movie, but I did find out that Leanne Rimes is 14 in that recording.
mhm.
It was recorded for this movie, and she was a kid, which is nuts.
Yeah, I would have to fact check this, but I think it might be Leanne Rimes singing at the beginning and Trisha Yearwood singing the theme at the end.
Mm, okay.
I'm not
I did
100%
not.
sure.
I did not double check that. The other thing I wrote at the beginning was the moment Nick Cage talks, I had to write down that his accent is such a big swing in this movie.
I knew we were going to talk about that. I was like, obviously the accent's going to come up. I'm a Southern person and I don't know anyone who speaks that way.
I was
Uh,
I was out with a friend yesterday. The two movies I've watched this week, just to demystify a little bit. It is a Wednesday. On Monday, I watched this to get ready for the podcast, and then yesterday I went to a theater to watch Lawrence of Arabia. So a mixed week so far, a very uneven movie going week. And I was with a friend
One,
and they asked me, I said, the accent he does in this movie is crazy. And they asked me, what does he sound like? And I was trying to come up with it. And the answer is Forrest Gump.
yeah, it's like Forrest Gump with a little dash of Foghorn Leghorn.
Yes.
Also,
He's- he
one might say that this week you have watched a movie and a film. I will say.
that's I watched something that I felt more than comfortable eating Chipotle during it. And then I watched a movie that had an overture and an
Yeah.
intermission. So
Which, honestly, we need to bring back overtures and intermissions, especially with how long movies have gotten these days. Like, I need a bathroom break, y'all.
Lawrence of Arabia was 4 hours long. So
Jeez.
that's 2 movies. So it did need an intermission. But the overture was cool. Con Air should have had an overture of
Oh my God, that would be so cool.
All movies should. You're absolutely right. And it's like
Yeah.
black screen, and it gives like 5 minutes for people who are bumbling around trying to find their seats in a sold out theater in the dark time to sit down before the movie actually starts. It was perfect. So cool.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about, though. So we're gonna get back to talking about Con Air instead.
So yeah, accent. And I did read trivia for this, as is my custom to scroll through IMDb while I'm watching a movie that I've seen a million times. He did make a trip out to Alabama to do accent work for this movie, which I commend him for. However, he must have talked to one person, one guy. And that was the version of the Alabama accent that he clung to.
Yes. And he says some shit in this movie that makes that accent work. Not work well, but work hard.
Yeah, work with a finger snap at the end of it.
Yeah. I did also write down the moment where he does his murder is that he's fighting like 3 guys and he knocks 2 guys down on the ground. And then he does a palm strike to the nose.
Yeah, he does Sandra Bullock's move from Miss Congeniality that she teaches us.
Which to me, this is the first moment in the movie where I was like, okay, so I know what the directing for the action scenes is going to be like, because it does that very 90s like slow-mo, and there's a scream that like fades out and echoes, and you can hear the bone crunch. I was like, this is going to be real hammy. And
it's so dramatic.
It's so much. I also love in the scene where he's getting his, just moments later, he's in court, obviously, and the lawyer is like, you need to, if you say, that you're guilty, if you plead guilty, you'll get less time. You'll probably get 10 years if you plead innocent and they convict you, but you'll get less. He's trying to get him to take a deal. And then it immediately cuts to him in court. First of all, the judge says he's a deadly weapon. I did check this. That's not a thing. I did too.
No, it's not. My justice system nerd, true crime loving brain was like, you know what? I'm going to check this. He was charged with manslaughter in the 1st degree. In Alabama in like 1990.
1997. 1997 is when the movie came out, so maybe it was 8 years earlier by the timeline.
Yeah, maybe.
The whole thing looks like it takes place whenever. It does not matter.
Nebulous in the nebulous 90s. And yeah, first of all, your hands are deadly weapons is not a thing. Secondly, and I've always said this, there's no way, knowing how our justice system works here in the US of A, that a decorated Army Ranger would ever get the maximum sentence for a first offense.
Or even go to court. It's obviously, again, we're talking about suspending disbelief here. If he doesn't, there's no movie, fine. But also, Apparently the decision for him to be an army ranger instead of just a guy who gets into a bar fight was Nick Cage's idea. That was the other piece of trivia I found. So he
Yeah.
because he thought it was like very silly for a normal guy who gets into a bar fight to do all the much more heightened action scenes that are later.
Yeah. I
So I
agree with
guess
that.
but that does sort of throw the wrench into it where it's like the justice system's going to bend over backwards for a white
Yeah.
officer in the
Especially in
Army
the
Rangers.
South.
Yeah.
Although I always like, that being said, like, I'm a pretty, I think, law abiding citizen, so to speak, but I'm always like, man, if I did something like, I don't know, have too much weed on me, I would probably get the electric chair because all my life, anytime that I've gotten in trouble in like school or anything, it's like, I don't just get that like, well, Katie's usually good. Like she always brings her books to class and does it. No, the one time I forget my book, I get after school detention.
Yeah. It's always someone's trying to
Yeah.
someone is always under the impression it's the first time you've ever been punished because of how good you are. And so they're trying to give you a lesson right away so that you stop instantly.
Yeah. And making me an example or, whoever. But yeah, also I think his lawyer must have sucked.
Oh my God. And that was the second thing where the lawyer's like, you'll probably get like 3 years if you plead guilty. And the judge is like, says the exact amount of time that the lawyer said he would get if he tried to plead not guilty. Hilarious. Totally
Yeah.
unintentionally funny. I was like, that's like a comedy beat. Like
And without parole.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets what's presumably the max sentence without parole. In real life, the max sentence for manslaughter in the first degree is 20 years, actually. Fun fact. But they also talk about how like this is a federal crime because that guy was a government employee, which I was like, when did they say that this man was a government employee? I don't remember that.
He's a government barfly.
Yeah.
He was at work when it happened.
Yeah. That guy was actually deep undercover working some other case and decided to be a jackass.
I love the prison montage. He gets a care package from his wife, his hummingbird. And it contains socks, Doritos, one regular like snack size bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, and pink snowballs, the coconut Hostess candy.
Yeah.
Which is how he makes friends with his one friend in jail.
Who is Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
It's the same actor.
And that was and I love the scene right after it where he's trying to sleep and the prison riot from hell is happening outside where there's like burning like shit in the hallway and it like zooms down like it's a nightmare and he just like rolls over and covers his ears. That made me crack up so much.
Because you know what? That scene is only in certain cuts of the movie. So the one that you were watching had that. Really? The one that I was watching the other night didn't have that.
That's so odd. I watched it. Yeah. I tried to get a version from the library. I only got it today, so I didn't have time to watch it again. But the one on Hulu has that weird, like dolly shot down the prison hallway. I also love when he's writing to his daughter about how they also have recess like she does at school. He says the first insane thing that is an insane Nick Cage line in this movie. Normally we don't hold hands. Which just puts the image in my mind.
Overly pronounces everything. Yeah, and if somebody tried to, or he tried to hold somebody's hand and they just punch him right in the nose.
But also normally implies, well, sometimes we do. Like when they're playing Red Rover in prison, maybe that's the only time.
That's exactly what I pictured was a game of Red Rover.
Red Rover or Ring Around the Rosie. But
We did it once and we'll never talk about it again.
It's not going to happen again. That it happens that way in prison. Sometimes you are allowed to do something once, and then something happens, and then you're not allowed to do it anymore.
So I will point out a good detail here of the movie that kind of calls back later down the line. All the like pull-ups and like the exercise that he's doing in his cell, obviously is pretty typical of like prison. You know, you pass the time, you just exercise and shit. I assume. I've never been to prison.
It's classic movie montage stuff anyway. Like that's like straight out of every movie leading up to it that had prison scenes. You know, they're doing yard exercise.
Yeah, and like later on, I know specifically I clocked this when like at the very end he's climbing across the like fire truck that the baddies are escaping on, and he's sort of doing it like monkey bars. I'm like, see, he was able to do that because he did all those pull-ups in jail
with a gunshot wound too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to how nuts. Boy, is that just the tip of the iceberg about that final action set piece. But that is nuts. So he's in prison. He's getting out of prison after I think 7 or 8 years, almost to the date, because it's his daughter's birthday, and she's all excited.
Bastille Day.
Out. Bastille Day. Yes, he's got same release from prison the same day as Marquis de Sade. There you go.
Almost exactly the same story.
Pretty close. I did write down they give haircuts in prison, Nick.
I read
this
that.
Scene.
I said the same thing. I said, why did he never get a haircut or shave?
in the whole 7 years. He was like Jean Valjean by the time it gets to like, I know it's like it shows the passage of time, but not really.
Right.
Because hair grows kind of fast.
Right. We also didn't necessarily need the visual passage of time because we have the letters. Like, letting
they did
us
a montage.
know. Yeah.
And my favorite part about that is we got to the end of the movie and he's like meeting his wife finally, and he goes, I meant to get a haircut. And I was like, yeah, because you look crazy.
I'm like, was that his like tough guy prison persona? Like,
maybe
is that whatever.
Maybe he needed that to like avoid, you know. But he was making friends, handed out snowballs to everyone, so maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean, also, you know, prison is just rife with skinheads, so he wanted to show that he was very, very opposite.
Right.
Like, he's like, not only am I not getting that haircut, I'm growing my hair out.
I'm not a skinhead. I'm in a hair metal band.
My hair length is directly proportional to how much of a Nazi I am.
We of course get out of the prison scene. He's getting onto. So I do want to point out this. This is the point where you just have to be like, yeah, okay, this is how it's going to be. Because everything about the way he's going home, the way his release is handled, the premise of the Con Air system versus how it works in the movie. I did want to look. I was going to say
it is a real thing. The Con Air thing is a real. Yeah,
I'm so used to like in movies and sitcoms when like a U.S. Marshal has one guy, and it's on a regular flight.
Yeah,
that's what I've like seen before. And so I was like, clearly this is made up. It's not.
Nope.
They never use a plane like that.
No.
They're all 737s. They always have been. So it's crazy that they're in. I looked up what kind of plane it is. It's a plane from the 50s. So this is like a like passenger / like troop carrying airplane they would have used for like Korea.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Which is why it has a huge like wartime emblem and a fun name. It's called the Jailbird, and it has like a I wonder if they put a bird on the front. I wonder if there was a time when the thought was it was going to have a pinup like a bomber.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if they also just they were like, well, what planes do we have that we can pick from? Oh, this one looks fucking cool. Like we're going with this one, which points for
It does have
style.
that upside. Yeah, if it was just like a passenger plane, I think Air Force One was coming out around the same time, so another just regular Boeing jet themed airplane
Hmm.
movie probably would not have sold. So this is a better look. But the idea that he has to be released in Mobile, so he has to be taken back to Alabama,
Yeah.
but there's no way to get him there other than he has to be on the airplane with 4 or 5 Hannibal Lecters, essentially. Um,
Yeah. There's at least one actual Hannibal Lecter.
yes. They do get called. This is where John Cusack comes in because he's the head of the marshals in this
Hmm.
movie.
Favorite
Um,
character.
he's pretty good in this.
Yeah.
He's pretty terrific. He calls all the people on the airplane pure predators, which some of them more literal than others, and we'll get to that. Um, I wrote that there's so much good talent in this because you just keep seeing people walk off of the vans to get on this plane. Ving
Hmm.
Rhames, in addition to like the headlining roles, Ving Rhames is also in this. You've also got Dave Chappelle, who is very funny in this, and you've got uh later on Steve Buscemi, um, and
Danny
John
Trejo.
Malkovich, Danny
John
Trejo. John Malkovich plays himself in this. Um,
Did you know that this movie, I found this out the other night, this movie changed the trajectory of John Malkovich's career? Because
really,
literally I read that prior to this film, he played like super genius seducers. I think was the word that was used. And then after this film, he started playing super genius villains.
oh, I I read that. Um, I read a similar fun fact that he was on Graham Norton with Samuel L. Jackson. And
Hmm.
Graham was like, "You guys have never been in a movie together." And Sam sort of deferred and was like, "Oh, that's because John is in really smart movies
Oh
exclusively."
yeah. I've seen
And
that. Yeah.
John Malkovich goes, "No, I'm not. I was in Con Air, and if Con Air is a smart movie, I am an astronaut." Which
So
good
rude.
for John Malkovich for seeing. Well, he sees what he sees. Um, this is a point where I also, uh, in addition to all these prisoners, the true villains of this movie and villains in real life and uh, in lots of movies, the DEA swoop in,
Mhm.
and Colm Meaney plays like the head DEA guy in this movie, and they're trying to sneak a DEA guy on to like interview a drug lord that's being picked up from the second location, from the second prison. And I just wrote idiot with an exclamation mark, which I can only assume is my note from where Colm Meaney sneaks a gun into the DEA
Yeah.
agent's sock, which is
He
like
he immediately places Chekhov's gun into that sock, and we don't even get to the third act before it goes off.
it takes
10
moments.
minutes?
This is not even it's not even like it's not a payoff even. It's just
No.
that's the gun that's going to kill him later. Like it's just right there. we
Yeah.
they don't have the wheels off the ground practically by the time it happens. Um I did then see Danny Trejo and I wrote his name with an exclamation mark, and then moments later wrote, "Oh no," because I heard his character name and his premise. Um
He is the worst, I think, out of all. If I had to judge all the prisoners, he's the worst.
he he is, for all the prisoners that have done murder and arson and all the other bad things, they are at least all in this movie. They have like this plan if you haven't caught on to what happens, for the audience, the cons take over the airplane and it becomes Con Air, an airplane run by convicts. And that's the point. That's the point of where all the action happens. But all these other people are like, we have a plan. We're gonna escape. It has to do with this drug lord. We're gonna go to a country with no extradition, and it's gonna be great because we're all also gonna get a payoff from this, from the crime syndicate that the drug lord's a part of. And everyone else has that on their minds, and all Danny Trejo can think about is assaulting people. And he plays a rapist. There's no way around it.
And I hate that for him.
I do as well. I do love this. This is a fact I knew about Danny Trejo from his life, from knowing about him as an actor. He likes playing bad guys, but he won't play a bad guy unless the bad guy dies. And he says that the death has to be commiserate with how bad of a guy it is.
Yeah, I think his death in that movie is probably the best one.
He does die in this movie, and it's a rough one. He really dies, which good, because he's awful in the movie. The character is a bad guy. Yeah,
I cracked up actually watching it last night. Can I go ahead and skip ahead and just reveal how his life ends in this movie? Yeah. So he eventually, through a series of unfortunate for him events, gets himself handcuffed to one of the cages of the plane. He has his hands cuffed over his head, and when the plane crashes, he gets shaken around and thrashed around so much that his body separates from his arms. And so the paramedic or whatever that goes into the plane to look for survivors is walks all the way up to Danny Trejo and goes, "Yeah, this one's dead," as if he couldn't tell.
As if there was any other explanation. Yeah. They sell it in the cinematography in that scene is good because it looks like he's still just hanging there, and then they pick up his body and it starts to move, and the arm is still in the handcuff
separation.
To the it's So he's
this one's dead.
He's done. So they start to take over the plane. The plan involves everyone hiding implements inside their body, which is very cool. Ving Rhames and John Malkovich both have needles embedded in their palms. And then Dave Chappelle pulls a string out of his throat. And he has, which is awful.
Gives me the heebies.
So rough to watch, but he's got a little canister of gasoline and a match stuck down his throat, and they light someone on fire. It causes a hubbub. Malkovich and Ving Rhames' characters get out of their handcuffs inside they're in little extra cages because of how awful they are. They get out of their handcuffs, and Dave Chappelle's character, whose name is Pinball, which I thought was also terrific, opens their cages. Mass hysteria breaks loose. They take over the plane.
Yep. Which my note during that was because prior to that, one of the prison, guards, cops, whatever, jailers gives them this whole speech about basically a tough guy speech. I'm in charge. You guys are filth. And I was I would always plan that maybe this could go wrong and these guys could get out and take over, because I've seen the movie Con Air, right?
Right.
So the characters have never seen the movie that they're in, so they don't know how to plan for this. But I was I would be so nice to prisoners so they wouldn't kill me when they escape. It's my note.
I mean, that guy's even mean to Nick Cage, who is leaving the prison system that day. He earlier he does a pat down of everyone, and he gets to Nick Cage, and Nick Cage has a photo
his daughter's
of his
picture
daughter in his and the guy is like, he's like, what is this? And he's like, it's a picture of my daughter. I'm going back to see her today. I'm a parolee. And he takes it.
I'm
And
sorry.
he's like,
I think what he says is, that's a picture of my daughter.
right. Yeah. He doesn't say it with any kind of diction or eloquence. He says it like that. And then the guy takes it and is like, no personal items. And of course, Nick Cage says, I'll be getting that back from you, which could mean anything.
Yeah. That sounds threatening. And for the fact that you are coming out of prison, and that guy doesn't
It's a bad
care.
idea. But also he's like, he could also just mean, because I, when the plane lands, I get to go home. So you do need to give that back to me.
Yeah. I also think it's like really interesting because they do establish like when he's like on the bus to go to the airfield to get on the plane, like the guard, Bishop, the one female guard, and the one other female character in this movie is like, basically, we're treating you like a prisoner until, like, even though you are technically a free man now, we're treating you like a prisoner until, we touch down at our final destination. And that guy certainly does. That guard, that other guard, the mean guard.
Yeah. And then we do get a Malkovich line once the plane is taken over, where somebody asks him if he's crazy, and he says, according to my last psych evaluation, yes. Which he has some. There are so many characters in this movie, and this is a thing that happens sometimes with action movies, especially, where characters are supposed to be so smart, right? Because they come up with this whole plan and they get away, but they talk the way that someone who's not as smart as them would think a smart person talks. Malkovich has that problem in this movie. Strangely,
I can see that.
Ving Rhames comes across much better and much smarter in this movie, which is not always the way these things shake out. So I actually think that, like, in a different version of events, Diamond Dog is his name, which is awesome. I think he's got the upper hand. But of course, things don't go according to plan. That's not what the movie's about.
He might also, because Diamond Dog does say, like, because we know his character is sort of this like militant sort of like extremist version of like a Black Panther.
Yes.
It's a fictional version of like a Black Panther, but yeah, he's essentially like a militant radicalist, and Nicolas Cage like asks him like, why are you going along with Cyrus the Virus, John Malkovich's character? Kind of a cool name, but I don't know, also kind of lame, to be honest. Like,
it's definitely meaner than all the other like criminal nicknames.
I feel like they just gave him that because it rhymes. Like,
yeah, like he's there with Diamond Dog, the Marietta Mangler, Billy Bedlam, and even Pinball is kind of a cool name. And then Cyrus the Virus, like,
yeah. And you have to imagine, like, Pinball gave himself that name. Like, that's a street name. Diamond Dog probably gave himself his own name, but like the media gave the rest of the names because that's what they do.
Cyrus the Virus is definitely a New York Post name.
Yeah. Yeah. Village Voice, maybe. It's the 90s. But
speaking of nicknames, they do. Yeah. We get the plane gets taken over, and the first thing we have to do is there's a prisoner exchange at another prison. So they're flying. They know they have to do it, or else it'll be way too suspicious. So they land, and also because they're trying to get the drug lord onto the plane is part of the escape. So,
and my note here was the sandstorm makes this so much more dramatic. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everything like this is not that, like, the sandstorm and all of the Bureau of Prison people with their drawn guns and the big like cloaks and gas masks on is so over the top and crazy.
Oh yeah.
But you know they were in love with that shot once it first hit
Oh, it
dailies,
looks
right?
cool as hell. Cool as hell. But
But
yeah, they do like okay, sorry. You go you describe the next part.
So they land to pick up all these prisoners. The prisoners they pick up are some chaff, just some extra white supremacists, I guess, as well as the drug lord who they are bringing to the country that doesn't have extradition, and a stereotypical prison sex worker, which is a low moment in the movie, in my opinion. And then someone who knows how to fly a plane, whose name is Swamp Thing.
Yeah, and it's oh gosh, what's his name? He's like a character actor. He's in a lot of things.
Yes.
But he did say this was one of his favorite movies to make.
I mean, it's got to be fun with all the stuff that happens in this. But I did write Swamp Thing with a question mark because I don't get that one. That one went over my head.
Yeah.
We get no details on why he's Swamp Thing, which is too bad because everyone else's nickname like has like a connection to something.
Yeah. I will specify, you said sex worker, and this is a male presenting sex worker, although maybe possibly a trans person. At the very most non-binary, because they do refer to that, like the character's name is Sally, like what is it, like Leggy Sally or something like that, or like
yes,
they refer to her as Sally. They also refer to her as she, her, which I'm like, all these prisoners, for all their flaws, they're all respecting pronouns out here.
Pronoun respect, yeah.
Yeah.
And hard to say with the prison system how that shook down, where all this comes from. It's not the most progressive depiction, I don't think.
I mean, trans people have a really hard time in prison. I don't know that person would be that character that they are, with like the sass and sort of the freedom of expression that they have in a real prison. But anyways, and then there's also the most important prisoner that comes aboard.
Yes, this is also where we meet Steve Buscemi's character, the Marietta Mangler. He is so cool in this movie. Like, I think that is one of my favorite Steve Buscemi roles. It is so much like, to set a little bit of the scene, they roll him off of his own special cart. He is
Hannibal
fully
Lecter
in a
style.
Hannibal. Yeah, exactly like Hannibal Lecter. He's in like a restraint, so he can't move his arms away from his chest at all. He's got the mask on and everything. It's definitely, if not a ripoff, a reference to that.
Oh, for sure. Because like my note here was, do they actually transfer prisoners like this? Like, there's no way that's like a real life thing.
It does give me the first moment of the movie where I was like, why wasn't Cyrus? Because like, for all of the crimes that they list, the Garland Green is Steve Buscemi's character's real name. They call him Garland or the Marietta Mangler, depending on the scene. And they talk about how he killed a very, like, 30, I think, people before he was caught. He's a serial killer.
Yeah,
but,
and a cannibal.
And a cannibal, yes. Thus the face mask, like Hannibal Lecter. But Cyrus killed people in prison. and has like successfully or unsuccessfully escaped. They said like 5 or 6 times.
Twice. He has escaped twice.
Yeah. Why on earth is he not in a face mask and restraints like that?
Yeah,
Why?
if
Like,
nothing else, well, I guess because he was in the cage, and maybe they were like, "This is good enough," not expecting him to have lock picking needles underneath his skin.
I mean, I suppose I would have, if I were that person, I'd be like, so wait, this guy has killed people in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, yeah, that I would have been like, all Garland does is sing.
Yeah.
He's now that he's in jail, he's normal.
I mean, he could have potentially been violent. It's like in Silence of the Lambs when they say like Hannibal Lecter, like during a doctor's appointment, like attacked a nurse and like
That's true.
bit her face off or whatever. But yeah, and I also really appreciate that like he is like sort of an amalgamation of like the 3 biggest serial killers of the time, or at least the 3 most famous, like John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, and Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes. Yeah, he's got the cannibal thing, and he's got the sort of like childish, playful thing.
Mm-hmm. And the wearing faces thing.
Yeah. We also get, it's a handsome Buscemi in this movie.
Yeah.
He looks very like almost, it's which is Bundy-esque.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the Bundy in there, yeah.
Very, very neat character. It's almost, they allude that he gets away at the end. And I was like, did they want to make a Garland Green movie at the end of all this because of how fun that was? I would have seen that. I would see a Garland Green movie. They really still could.
There are rumors that Con Air 2 could happen. Well, so
I hope they get Steve Buscemi back if that does happen. Yeah. But let's fly off there. They get in the air, but not before the BOP starts noticing that something is wrong. So they try to kick off the guard or a couple of the guards at this stop by duct taping their mouths and bagging their faces. But clever Nick Cage hides the tape recorder from the now dead DEA agent on one of the guards, and they realize that something is going wrong with the plane. They take off under fire. And poor Pinball gets left behind because he's too busy
flirting,
chatting. He's too busy flirting with a woman he meets in an airplane hangar. Because he had been tasked with removing the transponder from the trackable Con Air flight and hiding it somewhere, which he does on another plane in a different hangar. But he tries to catch up with the plane and does not make it. Which gives us another insane line read from John Malkovich, where he's told that Pinball did not make it onto the plane, and he goes, "That's too bad. I liked Pinball." And I was like, he's so John Malkovich in this movie.
I liked
so
him. We also have the other thing that we haven't mentioned, sort of the another raising of the stakes. Nicolas Cage's friend is here with him, his cellmate, and his cellmate is diabetic and was unable to get his insulin shot because they were going to give it to him on the plane, and then the medic who was going to give it to him got killed, and everything like in his bag broke except for one vial of insulin, but they have no way to administer the insulin. So essentially, all hope is probably lost for him. He's just going to die because they're not going to land before he can get his insulin shot. So that's another sort of thing that's happened.
It is framed as the main reason why Nick Cage will not leave, because he's tied to helping Baby O, his friend.
Baby O, yeah, that's right. That's his name.
Get the insulin into his system.
And also the one female guard, Bishop, was left alive because this is 90s in an action movie and they don't want to kill a woman on screen. Bad for screen tests. So she is essentially just like handcuffed in a cage, and Danny Trejo has been making threats to her, as he does. But Cyrus did say that he'll throw him out of the plane. I think he says, if your penis jumps out of your pants, you're jumping out of this plane.
It's an insane thing to say. Such a weird way to introduce that. Thank you again, John Malkovich. Terrific.
Yeah. So yeah, those are two details that we sort of yada over, but important.
And they are good plot details, though. So we of course cut to the folks on the ground who are now panicking because everything has gone wrong. John Cusack tries to ring them up on the radio, and John Malkovich just sort of fucks him off and gives him some bullshit to talk about. And the DEA guys decide that they're going to go chase them in a helicopter and just shoot the plane down. And John Cusack says not to do that because this Cameron Poe guy is obviously, a good guy and trying to help them. And they say
Cole Meany does not care. Yeah, Cole Meany does not care.
Cole Meany's ready to kill everyone on the plane because he's a DEA guy and his DEA agent got killed. And so he's ready to revenge upon it. A bunch of prisoners, some of which are innocent, which is nuts. It's an insane thing to do.
Which is also somehow John Cusack's fault. Cole Meany is a real meanie.
He is. He's a jerk in this movie. I wrote like at least 5 times that this DEA guy blows in my notes because he's so over the top. So another little heightening. They're on the plane. Swamp Thing is telling John Malkovich, the plane's going slow, so it's going to take us longer than usual to get there. And the drug lord guy freaks out. He's like, we can't go slow. We can't be late. It's super important. And so he goes, well, the landing gear won't come up. So he sends Nick Cage and Bedlam, who's like the multi-murderer who killed his ex-wife's whole family, down into the like pit area to figure out what happens. And when they get down there, Pinball is there. Dave Chappelle has been crushed on the landing gear wheel and is like
frozen
laid all the way, like kind of like
grotesquely, like sort of frozen. Yeah,
he looks worse for wear. And but Bedlam gets distracted because he sees all their stuff. He sees all their personal effects and decides to start going through, I guess, everybody's things, because he doesn't just open his own box because he wants something from it. He just starts digging through it and looking at things.
Oh, and it's also worth noting, so he's suspicious of Nick Cage, who is sort of pretending that he's not a free man, that he was also a transfer, and he's also sort of pretending to be on their side and wanting to help them because he is interested in this deal for freedom that they have. But Bedlam is kind of suspicious.
Yeah, and I'm mistaken because this is not the Bedlam scene. He goes down first with Ving Rhames.
Diamond. Yeah, Diamond Dog. Yeah.
Ving Rhames does go through other people's boxes. He comes up with Sally's sunglasses that he has stolen because he wants these ladies' sunglasses so badly. But what Nick Cage does is he gets told to cut Pinball down. And so he writes a note on Pinball's shirt to
John Cusack.
And then pushes Dave Chappelle's body out of the plane And the only thing I wrote about this scene, because I didn't know what else to say, was they just don't make car crashes like that in movies anymore.
Well, then we just get like a very like a little comedy sting of a scene where a husband and wife have like just come from the car wash, and the husband is complaining about how like there's stuff on the windshield already. And then, 2 seconds later, Dave Chappelle's dead body crashes into
a body.
Yeah, a whole ass body.
I was surprised that while the body was falling, that it didn't play that that bum 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 ba-da-da-da song while it's falling, because that's totally the mood it is.
Yeah,
where he's like, so John Cusack gets his note.
Yeah.
And because I wrote here another crazy line, this very like character actory, I didn't look up the guy's name, but it's a very character actory looking guy, is playing this like local cop who's on the radio to John Cusack, and he's like, "It's a body that fell out of the sky," and he's like, "I don't think he's an astronaut," because he's that cracked me up. Cusack freaks out because of the note.
I was gonna say it's also like a character actor that's like playing the husband in that scene, and I'm like, what is his name? That's gonna bother me. I'm scrolling through right now.
He does a lot of like straight man work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he's
that's
definitely like if you see him, you'll for sure know who he is.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
very,
I'm like
stuffed shirt sort of
Don. So his name is Don S. Davis, which probably means nothing to anybody listening, but gives you something to Google if you are so inclined to know who we're talking about.
Look him up. He is a guy where you'll see him and you'll go, "Oh, that guy." You've probably seen him in another movie. So Cusack freaks out. He wants to go. He wants to go help because Nick Cage has given him directions to where they're now going to make their second landing.
Well, he figured it out because of where they dropped the body.
Yes.
Sorry, I've seen this movie so many times, and I know like all these tiny, minute details.
Cage writes Lerner Airfield on Dave Chappelle's body, and Cusack figures out that he tries to get the DEA guys to come back because it turns out they're chasing the decoy plane that the transponder is in, and he tries to get them to turn around, and despite having real evidence, the DEA guy may as well turn to the other DEA agent and do like the hand jacking off motion while John Cusack is talking. It's so like dismissive, and like he's talking to the head of another government agency, and the guy goes, "A body just fell out of the sky. It is a prisoner. It is a prisoner that should have been on this plane. They're not in the place they're supposed to be based on where the transponder says they are. And it has the name of an airfield somewhere else. You guys can get there so fast in your helicopters if you just go." And Cole Meany is just like, "I hate you for no reason."
Yeah. There's no way that is anything that you just said is true. Yeah. John Cusack, I guess, he just egged him on so much in the beginning when they first meet that, Cole Meany is like, "You know what? Fuck you. Like, we're just not gonna... I'm not gonna listen to anything you say."
So, John Cusack decides he's gonna handle this alone. He steals Cole Meany's Corvette and drives off to Lerner Airfield. And then we get to the iconic scene. This is where Nick Cage winds up back in the hold with all the personal items because he realizes that he might get found out. And Billy Bedlam is down there looking through his shit. And he's holding the letter from his daughter that says, "I'm so excited you're getting out of jail on my birthday." And the bunny. And he's got the bunny, of course. The bunny is a gift he was going to give his daughter when he gets home.
Mm-hmm.
And Bedlam has it like he's holding a hostage, which is hysterical. And Nick Cage says, "Put the bunny back in the box." It's so
Put
weird.
the bunny back in the box. You know, he practiced that line read so hard.
100 times. They
Yeah.
have an awkward crouch fight because they're both too tall to stand up in the hole, which made me giggle. And he kills him bad. That's a rough one.
He goes out like Dean Winchester.
Yeah, a terrible way to go out. No Juggalo vampires either, just Nick Cage. He falls back on something sharp, and the light leaves his eyes. And Nick Cage's kill count goes up by 1 in this movie.
So now he's killed 2 people.
And he does,
well, at least that we know of. He was in the army or whatever, so
yeah, hard to say. He does go upstairs though, and this is a moment where it's like it does make you think like maybe this is like the only 2 people he's killed or hurt enough to kill, because he sits down and looks at his hands, and it's like he's not really disguising that something bad happened while he was down there. But the letter gets sort of tossed up and is in like the personal space of the plane now. This also brings us to the Lerner Airfield, which is a crazy location. A real location, apparently. It's an actual airfield that this like plane graveyard. So there's this alleyway of all these like crashed planes, and it's an old junkyard, and this big old runway is very cool looking. I thought it was an insane look for obviously an action set piece. Like it's totally just set up that way.
Yeah. It looks fake, but I mean maybe they did
does look fake.
Dressing, but
and then they do almost run into another plane trying to land.
Yeah.
And this is one of those scenes where it's like, this is a character who doesn't know who he is. This guy who's flying the other plane, they almost gets hit. He's in like a much smaller, like a single engine plane. He gets out like he's having a regular traffic dispute and walks up to like he's gonna yell at them. And then, 15 shirtless prison inmates with guns walk out, and he just turns around and just runs into the desert. Like no plan, just runs. And I did laugh out loud about that too.
Well, because John Malkovich has another excellent one-liner where he's like, I hope he likes sand. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. It's unreal.
And John Cusack is here, having done one of my favorite things that John Cusack does in this movie. And what made me finally write the note, John Cusack is my favorite character, because Cole Meany has been, such a lovely piece of shit to him this entire time. He has stolen Cole Meany's very fancy car and used it to drive out here to Lerner Airfield to like not meet the prisoners, but like be where they are.
Which is gutsy because he knows how many of them there are, and it's just him. He gets a note. He calls for backup, but they're way behind him because he's in a sports car. And this is the point where it struck me that the movie this really reminds me of is Die Hard.
Yeah,
it's a very Die Hard beats, right? There's a man on the inside who all these other guys are bad guys, but he's really a good guy and just trying to be hidden. And he's got a relationship with a cop where they can't always talk. And there's other law enforcement people who don't believe that this guy could really be a good guy, so they're not taking him seriously. And they finally do meet because Nick Cage sneaks off and discovers that the drug lord's people are, instead of bringing the plane out to bring everyone, are hiding and are planning to just take him and betray Cyrus. Um, this does also have a very small scene where Nick Cage runs off initially to find a syringe. He's trying to find a needle to give the insulin to Baby O.
Yes.
And he finds a first aid kit and opens it. And I don't know if this is a reference to something. He opens the first aid kit and it just has onions and chicken feet in it. Did you notice that?
I don't know.
Is that
I
I was like,
couldn't tell you the purpose of that.
it could have just been empty. What is that supposed to be? I was so like, that took me out of the movie fully. I had to pause it and make sure I wasn't seeing things.
Hang on.
Like, it's a good start to, like, you know, a menudo, but you wouldn't keep it in a first aid kit, probably.
I just Googled onions in a first aid kit, and Google AI goes, onions are not a standard or recommended item for a first aid kit. Instead,
Thanks.
you
Yeah,
should
you're
include items like bandages, sterile gauze, antiseptic wipes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds
You're
right.
probably right. So all hell breaks loose. The Nick Cage attacks a bunch of the, like, drug syndicate people, but one of them is hiding in the airplane. He meets John Cusack and they try and figure out what they're going to do next. Cusack says he's going to get him out of there because his wife and kid are waiting, but he's like, no, I got a guy, I got to help. And then the drug lord tries to get away in the jet, and this is the first of several moments where John Cusack decides he's going to operate some heavy machinery with no training.
Mm-hmm.
And he jumps into a crane while this jet is taking off, and he just slams the crane arm down, and it knocks the back half of this like small private jet, which is a nuts action like sequence. It's a great set piece. It looks crazy. And then
he was really taking desperate measures.
Oh yeah, it crashes into this, like, you know, fueling station, and there's gas everywhere. And the drug lord is, like, hanging out in the back of the plane. He's a little bit hurt or something, and he looks to John Malkovich and goes, "Cyrus, help me." And then he says, "Sigh." And John Malkovich goes, "Anara," and throws a cigarette on the glass. I was like, and that's the dumb one. That's way too much. That's insane.
Not the best one.
Sigh, Anara.
I almost forgot about
Unreal.
that one because I was thinking about when Nick Cage is still in the hangar with John Cusack, and they're sort of trying to decide if they're on the same team, if they're helping each other. And Nick Cage says something like, "I got two men I trust. One of them's me, and the other one ain't you."
The other one ain't you. That's so ridiculous.
I was like, "Who's the other one?" And then at, like, the end of the movie, he was like, "Well, now I got three people I trust." And I was like, he says this to John Cusack, and I was like, "But who's the second one? Is it God? Is God?"
In my head, that just means he added John Cusack to the list. So now the list is the three people I trust is me, not you, but also you.
But also
which is truly baffling.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I don't think that makes more sense, but I do think that's what he meant. So Cusack is yes. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can we? Meanwhile, in another movie, Steve Buscemi's character is having a moment.
Steve, this scene is so out of place in this movie. It's crazy, but it is worth it to have it in it, I guess.
Do you want to describe it, or shall I?
You go ahead.
Okay. So Steve Buscemi gets off the plane when they land. in at Lerner Airfield sort of wanders off into like what looks to be maybe like an abandoned trailer park community. And he sees there's a pool, like an in-ground swimming pool that is completely drained. And in the middle is a little girl who just is the picture of innocence. She's got a nice little floral dress on, hair and braided pigtails, and she's having a tea party with a couple of like Barbie dolls. And he sits down with this little girl. She invites him to like come have tea with her and play. And I remember the first time seeing this movie and thinking like, oh no, what's going to happen to this little girl? And like, you know, he proceeds to have tea with her and sort of chuckle to himself at how surreal this all is. And she asks him to like sing a song with her. They start singing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, the sort of children's Sunday school song. And then we sort of see that happening, and then, you know, we cut away to all the other action that like Cody just described with the betrayal in the plane and John Cusack operating heavy machinery. And then when we cut back to the plane later, Steve Buscemi's character has reboarded the plane. Now, I had a theory that I came up with during this watch. I had never thought about this before. The little girl isn't real, that she's either a hallucination or like a memory of someone he killed.
It definitely has all of the, like, if you told me if we opened a movie and it was like a guy is walking through the desert and he comes upon a trailer park where you can't find any other people, but there is a little girl in the bottom of a drained swimming pool playing alone, I would say it's a dream sequence, right?
Yeah.
And
it does like nothing for the movie. Like, it maybe creates some peril for the audience because the audience knows he's a serial killer and a cannibal, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen to this little girl? But it's also kind of like, should we even care about that? There's like more interesting actual movie things that are happening.
Like, it's definitely like in a movie where so much of what happens is in service of the next explosion. Like, it's definitely a moment that's like, so they're trying to build some like creepy tension, but they really don't have time for it. Like, there's not enough room in this movie for the movie that's about Con Air, where the Marietta Mangler is on a Con Air flight and something happens where he escapes, is another movie. That's
maybe,
Con Air too.
Like, I was gonna say maybe that's like more like maybe that's more to like our theory that they were sort of setting up a Con Air cinematic universe where
a CACU.
Yes.
Yeah, with where Garland Green would be the next sort of. I don't know how they get him on an airplane again. It'd be crazy. It's like Speed trying to just come up.
Maybe he's doing like or like a DB Cooper thing. That would be kind of cool.
That would be neat.
But
that scene did have all the markers of like a dream sequence or like a hallucination, though.
The only reason that doesn't. Oh yeah, that too. And like the way that like it sort of faces the girl like head on from his point of view, like. Yeah. But I was going to say the only reason that theory maybe doesn't hold water is that when the plane is flying off again, the plane with our Con Air, you know, if you will, is flying off again, and Garland Green is back on board. You see the little girl like from the ground, like waving goodbye to like her new friend. I think she calls him Bob or something like that, or he says his name is Bob, and so she's like, bye Bob. And I was like, okay, maybe that theory isn't quite correct, but
it's still a weird setup because
it is.
It's like the whole, maybe if it was a scene where he just comes upon a little girl and starts playing and you're supposed to get a little freaked out about what might happen. Why is she not playing on the ground or at a little table that's not in the bottom of an empty swimming pool. It gives it like that sort of liminal weirdness. And
yeah, and also there's like giant explosions happening. Like if there were people over there like living at that trailer park, like or that little like trailer community, why wouldn't anyone come out? Like, where are her parents? Why wouldn't her parents come out and be like, little Sally, please come back inside. There are explosions happening.
The airfield's on fire again.
Yeah.
And there is another person because all hell breaks loose again. The army shows up or some SWAT in armored vehicles show up, and all the cons realize they're coming, so they create like a vice trap in this like alley of plain graveyard that they've got set up. And Nick Cage, in order to avoid all of the chaos and because he still really needs a syringe for Baby O, he's like hiding, and he dives under a car, and there's an old man under the car.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, he just looks at him, and the old man is scared and trying to stay out of trouble, and Nick Cage is like, everything's going to be okay, just stay here. But he goes, I need a needle, I need a syringe. And the old man goes, oh son, don't do drugs. And it's like
drugs will injure or something like that. It's so precious.
It's like, he's like, no, it's for medicine, I need it, would you have a first aid kit?
Yeah, he doesn't even explain it. He's just like, he's not even like, it's not me. For yeah.
But
then
ambush is crazy.
Nick Cage says like, stay here, keep hiding, and the guy's like, well, that's easy for you to say, you don't gotta pee or something. It's so jokey.
It is very like, this is definitely like, if you've seen an action comedy that takes these scenes and like adds on to the comedic moments, this is like the starter, where these scenes are not taken very seriously all the time.
Yeah. Somebody punched up the jokes on these scenes.
Oh yeah. Nick Cage then does find a syringe. He gets behind the wheel of a car, and John Cusack gets into a bulldozer that's like a truck with just a bulldozer front on it, like it's not like on treads, which is where I was like, God, he knows how to operate like all this farm and construction equipment. It's crazy. I did also I love to watch Nick Cage drive in movies.
Yeah.
It's something about it is he's not content with sitting with like his head back against the headrest and like at Tenet 2. He's always, even in movies where he's not really like a race driver, he's always doing so much with it's so crazy how much he moves while he's driving. I saw The Rock for the first time earlier this year, which is going to make its way back around in this movie list. That has an insane Nick Cage driving scene, but this was just another one to add on with lots of green screen moving behind him. The ambush fails. All the cons were going to switch over to the plane that's now destroyed. And so they get back onto the damaged Con Air, and they take off. But while they're taking off, there is one big rope that Nick Cage, like, instead of using it to help pull the plane out of the ditch that it's landed in, has like wound it around something. And as they're taking off, it flies off of the thing he tied it to, swings through a bunch of buildings, destroying a bunch of stuff, and then, like magic, hooks onto like a tow truck onto the front of Colmini's Corvette, his car. Yep. And as the plane is taking off, the car lifts up with it, and you can see it like is trailing behind like a kite, which another all-time Nick Cage line. He looks out the back of like the open cargo door and sees the car flying behind them, and he goes, on any other day that might seem strange. Which is like, I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But that line might be the funniest line delivery he has in the whole movie. He sounds so ridiculous. It's the craziest moment. Like it's one of those moments in an action movie where a ton of crazy shit happens, but where even the characters stop and go, "Oh, huh."
Wow.
Um,
It's also like instant karma for Cole Meany in this movie.
the car flies off of the tow hitch because that wasn't gonna last forever and crashes. Cole Meany finally arrives on the scene of the airfield because the plane they were chasing winds up being a like a Grand Canyon or like Monument Valley like tour.
Mom and pop tour. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all these attack choppers show up surrounding this tour plane. He finally shows up just in time for the Corvette to land like 15 feet in front of him on the ground and destroy to pieces. So he gets his little karmic moment there. And then all hell breaks loose on Con Air. Malkovich realizes that Nick Cage is not who he's been saying he is. He threatens the bunny. He gets the bunny out of the box and says, "Make a move," and the bunny gets it. But so there's a big fight on the plane, but all this time they're also trying to avoid getting shot down because now the attack helicopters are chasing them, and they wind up over Vegas and decide they're going to make a crash landing in Vegas.
Yes, and somehow his wife and child have flown from Alabama to Vegas.
We've sort of skimmed over that, mostly because, boy, we talked about this, how there's only 2 named female characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Poe, I think Tricia Poe, doesn't, and her daughter Casey, I guess there's 3. Casey's a little girl. They don't get a ton to do in this movie other than look sad about not having Nick Cage around.
Yeah, they kind of just fret.
Yeah. So John Cusack talks to them earlier in the movie about what's going on and then takes them to Vegas to meet them, I guess. Like, he tells them what's going on and they all wind up going to Vegas. And so the plane is crashing right on the strip.
Which is great.
Which is amazing. It while they're crashing, Steve Buscemi starts singing "I've Got the Whole World in My Hands."
Yep.
Alone, which I wrote Buscemi rules in this at that part because he's so over the top and crazy. It's awesome. They crash and the wing hits the Hard Rock Cafe, or the Hard Rock Hotel rather, guitar sign. Which I found out that was done with a 1/15th scale model. However, the hotel they crash into, they actually crash into.
No shit. I did not know that.
It was scheduled to be demolished. So I think the director said something like they had dynamite planned to destroy the tower, but we destroyed the lobby. So the plane like skids across the strip. It hits a bunch of cars and shit, and it crashes into the front of a hotel. It does, of course, set off a slot machine that hits all 7s and is a jackpot. Haha. This, and then as the plane is crashed and like burning and like breaking and all this stuff, the most insane thing I've ever seen in a movie, maybe at least in recent memory, which is that Cage and Malkovich, Cyrus and Cameron Poe, are fighting on the airplane while it's crashing, and they're fighting while it's like crash landed, and then the propeller, or like the inside part of the turbine on the wing, gets all like spun up and broken, and crashes off of the wing, bounces off the ground, and goes all the way through the plane between them.
Yeah. It's sort of like a little fake out ending. Like you thought
I was
gonna hit.
I thought that's where John Malkovich has got to die in this movie. He must get cut in half by a propeller. But no, it just splits them. So they're both just standing there staring at each other. It's nuts. But that kicks off the sort of like final set piece with a ton of ridiculous character deaths.
Yeah. There's there's a little pause where we think it's over. Yeah,
that's right.
John Cusack and Nick Cage come face to face, and that's when he has this whole like there are three men I trust line. He gets to see his wife and daughter, and finally meets his daughter, which is a little awkward but ultimately sweet. Baby O, which we yada yada over this, but Baby O does end up getting shot by John Malkovich. He gets his insulin, so his life is saved. Then he gets shot by John Malkovich, but they do get him off the plane and 2 paramedics, so presumably he's going to be okay. The guard, Bishop, is good. She sort of like, tells Nicolas Cage that he's close call. They have like a and then she like kisses him on the cheek, and then that's done.
Did you find that moment extremely weird?
A little
upon rewatching. It's very like there's a version of this movie where Trisha is like not enamored with him coming back.
Yeah.
And Bishop was supposed to be like his.
I had that thought too. Yeah.
But like that scene almost feels like it's a remnant of that, because it's like, first of all, let me put this out there just for screenwriters and directors everywhere. And I don't know why this hasn't been like definitively put down on paper as like a real rule of filmmaking. If a character is like recently assaulted or nearly assaulted in a movie, they shouldn't kiss anyone probably for like the rest of the movie, especially if it's only been like 20 minutes. That's like a weird look.
I feel like that's sort of like the attitude of or sort of the subtext of action movies, where it's like, whoever the main character is in the movie, it's like, this is the guys want to be him and all the ladies want him, like.
Yeah.
So like,
but how confusing for Cameron, who has spent 10 years writing letters to his hummingbird and does all this stuff that's like, he's trying to get home and he's just trying to get there safe. And then he gets this kiss on the cheek, which is the first kiss he's gotten from a woman in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's weird. That whole moment, I was like, I don't think I would have like, how about a handshake? Like a respectful, like we're both, are technically protectors sort of thing.
Yeah. Or a nice friendly distant shoulder pat.
Yeah. That moment did weird me out.
Yeah. I sort of had that sort of back of the head thought.
And then in the distance, another ridiculous thing, while they're trying to sew everything up, they're trying to count prisoners, and they're clearly missing people. And Cusack and Nick Cage both look up and see on the top of a fire engine Cyrus, like sitting on top of the exposed ladder. Why? It's a fire engine. There's 2 seats in the front. I have no idea why he's on top of it, but he is.
I don't know. It's cooler. And then
it made the scene
John
cooler,
Cusack and Nick Cage sort of have a buddy cop moment where they like nod each other. You can hear them go, right. And then they run
Truly.
and jump onto a couple free motorcycles that were just there.
Right.
And they,
Police
you know,
motorcycles.
yeah, police motorcycles. And they just
You know how when police arrive at a
take up the
crime scene,
chase.
when police arrive at a crime scene and they drove motorcycles there, they always leave them with the keys in the ignition sitting next to the crime scene.
Yes,
Those are the
as one
ones that they
does.
wound up getting. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's an amazing motorcycle versus fire engine chase. Cusack is trying to shoot them but can't, because how do you ever possibly shoot a gun on a motorcycle? But Cage crashes his motorcycle into the back of the fire engine,
Yes.
which
and
blows up Ving Rhames in a humongous explosion. And then he does what we said at the beginning of the movie, which is he jumps and grabs the ladder and shows off his amazing lats and
monkey bars himself over onto the fire engine.
Where he gets into a fist fight with Cyrus, and Cyrus dies just so many times before they show his actual kill scene. There's no way he survives half that shit, let alone his final thing that happens.
Nope. Swamp Thing is driving, but then dies, I think, when the truck finally crashes and Cyrus is thrown off the truck and he lands in a rock quarry. That's
so this is a moment where it's like, well, what the hell exactly did happen? Because Nick Cage has handcuffs, which I guess he got from the police motorcycle. He has handcuffs, or no, I think he has handcuffs because John Malkovich is disguised as a guard, and that must be why. So he has these handcuffs. He's fighting Cyrus. He handcuffs him to the ladder, and then he jumps off of the ladder and goes to the crank on the side to crank the ladder up so that it's almost vertical. And then there's a like sky bridge over the street, and Malkovich manages to crash. When the fire engine crashes, he crashes through the sky bridge. I guess the handcuffs fail because he gets thrown off of the ladder, but he doesn't get thrown onto the front of the fire engine. He gets thrown to a nearby, in the middle of the night, like a gravel
rock quarry
press, some sort of. It's a big mechanical hammer that's crushing rocks that are falling off of a conveyor belt. I have no idea how he gets thrown that far, or where even that is relative to the strip, the Vegas strip. Like,
and then his head gets crushed.
Yeah, I guess
he's sort of like momentarily like sort of disoriented, unconscious, and then he sort of comes to, looks up, and sees death approaching.
Yeah, I guess if you want to definitively say this character is dead, head completely smashed by giant rock hammer, that'll do it.
Probably did.
There's no getting around that. So, and then there's an insane needle drop of "How Do I Live?"
Yeah.
while he's back talking with his wife and his kid. And I don't know, you said that it's ultimately this very sweet moment when the kid and him are finally, he gives her the extremely dirty bunny.
Yeah.
And she sort of reluctantly takes it and then gives him a hug. There's a lot of great kid actors out there. That kid looked terrified of Nicolas Cage.
It's kind of true. Yeah.
Period. Like, never really got over to, like, if we'd gotten like maybe some weepy eyes or like, you know, some tears and then the hug or something. But she gives him a hug and then sort of cheats towards the camera from the hug away from his leg. And she looks like this scary, dirty man as a stranger.
Yeah, this is not at all what I pictured my dad to look like. She's probably
Yeah.
seen pictures of him not looking like an insane prison man, you know?
Yeah, she's seen pictures of him in like his army uniform.
Yeah.
Like that's
You can,
probably what Trisha has around of him. Um,
yeah.
but that sews up the movie. We go to credits with "How Do I Live" playing. Um, it's it has been a heart pounder the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a good time with this movie. I had never seen it
Yeah,
all the way through.
see? Oh,
Yeah,
really? I'm surprised we never
yeah,
watched it all together. Um, yeah, I love this movie. It's a great I think Jerry Bruckheimer, who produced the movie, makes some great sort of fun action,
he's
like,
right in the pocket with this one. This is his,
yeah.
yeah, this is his
And
wheelhouse.
I love an action movie. I grew up in an action movie household. I was raised on the action movie, and like I love an action movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and this one definitely doesn't.
Really, truly does not. I have a couple more details about the movie. Um, I did find a DVD copy of it that I could pop in to see what the special features are.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Ooh.
sparse, a little sad.
Uh,
At
that was
least the
probably early
edition.
DVD.
Oh yeah, maybe one of the first, because 97 when this movie came out. It did have a trailer, which is essentially the whole movie, including crashing on the strip. Like all all that it doesn't give away is that he's fine at the end. Like it shows almost everything. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I've noticed this on DVDs, a special feature I never noticed when I was actively watching DVDs, the additional titles section, which is essentially just like a little commercial for other DVDs the company makes. So they
Oh,
do
okay.
recommend, yeah, they do recommend The Rock,
Okay.
which is a forthcoming Caged Men movie, way in the future because it's a super high rating compared to the middle of the pack that we're in right now. Uh, Ransom, which is a Mel Gibson action movie.
Yes. Familiar with that
Tombstone,
one.
which is
Tombstone. Like,
action like Huckleberry.
like,
Tombstone. If
yeah,
you want to
okay.
watch a
Because
movie
I've
with
never
better
seen
Southern
that.
accents in it,
That one's
and then
yeah.
Crimson Tide, with uh, a person also worthy of getting a podcast made about them, Gene Hackman, um,
Oh, absolutely.
and I think Denzel Washington also. But so that was fun. But I'm still the elusive Nick Cage commentary track has not come up on a DVD yet. And
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
that's
if he's ever
probably
made one.
early for commentaries.
Yeah, it was one of those DVDs where I put it in and it just started the movie. Like I had to hunt out the menu to go back to it.
I love
But
that
yeah,
you got it from the library. That's so cool.
yeah, the library so far I have not missed. Every movie has been available from the Chicago Public Library.
Shout
So
out.
yeah, shout out to anyone out there. If you're planning to start an insane podcast that's going to turn you into a weird obsessive, uh, do it with the help of the library. Don't buy a bunch of movies. Certainly don't spend them on streaming. Go to the library.
Yeah.
If you live in
Yeah.
a big enough city, they'll have all these movies. Um, I gave it like 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, which is high praise. I think that's a fair enough score for a movie like this. A little lower than Lawrence of Arabia.
Just a little. Like
It's it's
a quarter
you
of a
know,
star.
as you said, you said you grew up in an action movie household. This is an action movie. This is like, and it is a high octane action movie. It is exactly what it is, and you got to go for it if you're interested in it. So, I recommend this. To close things out here, I guess I would ask two things. First, is there a movie featuring Nick Cage that you would like to return and join us for another time?
Oh, you know what I'm gonna say, I'm sure.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, a very different Nicolas Cage movie, I would want to return for Moonstruck because I love that movie. It's so good, and I also had the pleasure of showing you that movie for the very first time, which I am so glad that I got to do.
That would be a rewatch for me, so I am looking forward to that. We shall see. That's a long way away with
Yeah.
how well rated that movie is. So we will see. And then, do you have any personal projects or anything that you'd like to plug?
Um, I mentioned at the top that I am an author. I have a book. It's called Call on Me, by Katie Edward. It's available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. It is a book that I will say, if you like movies like Pretty Woman, you would probably enjoy. So if you like romances and like smutty romances, you definitely enjoy that. So Call on Me, Katie Edward, available on Amazon. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Riot Girl Reads, and that's Riot GRRRL Reads. So 3 R's there, no I.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was very fun. It was a great movie to talk about. Next week we're on the downswing, so we will see how that film is. But I thank all the audience for joining as well. Remember, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Caged Men Pod. You can follow me on TikTok at Caged Men Pod as well. I am also on YouTube, which is also Caged Men Pod there. And then I'm planning on getting folks into the Discord soon as well. We'll see. Right now, the Discord's private just for recording, but we'll see. And that's also Caged Men Podcast. So we'll go ahead and figure something about that out in the near future, possibly. But that will bring us right to the end here. Thank you for joining us. And I will close out by saying, Sai Anara.